Hey guys, today we're going to be creating an ocean in Blender 2.79, so let's begin. First of all, we have our default cube, which we can keep, because this ocean that we're going to generate using the modifiers tab is generating the ocean. It won't matter the geometry of the actual mesh, but it will matter the scaling. So just make sure that it has a scale of 1. So I'm going to go to the modifiers and get the simulate ocean. You could say straight off the bat, I have an ocean. It's not very high resolution. So I'm going to turn this from 7. Here, wait, how do you zoom in? Or I don't know. Okay. I'm going to change it to 20. We could change the scale of the ocean. That'll give us bigger waves. And we could change the choppiness. So the scale is basically like, right, bigger waves. The choppiness is, let's turn this to a high value. Ooh, too high. If we turn the choppiness to a high value, you can see that basically where the peaks are, it makes like a crease there. It's like the crease brush. But, yeah. So, you can also see in time, if I change this, this will change too. So this is the time in seconds. So, on the very first frame, I'm going to set the time to 0. Then, on the 250th frame, actually let's do 200 frames total. Say I'm running my animation at 30 frames per second. And there's 200 frames total. So I'm going to do 200 over 30, which is equal to 7. So, on the first frame, I'll keyframe the time at 0 seconds. At 200, I'll put it at 7 seconds. And now, we get an ocean. Now let me turn off ambient occlusion. Also, I clicked N to get this tab on the right. I have ambient occlusion on so that I could see it better. And you could turn on a matte cap too. Let's turn on this matte cap. Or this one. Or, which one do I like? I'll stick with the normal one I use. Yeah, and I'll save this as ocean tutorial. Right. So now that we have this ocean created, you can see. Right, okay, so to demonstrate this, I'm going to set the resolution down to 7 again. Now we'll take a look. Now you can see it starts slow, and then it speeds up, and then it slows down again. But this is not what happens in the real world. And why does this happen? It's because if we go to the graph editor, you can see this is a Bezier curve. And this is creating a curve between the time. But time, it changes by the same increment. So we're going to go to key, interpolation mode, and then linear. What that'll do is it'll make the time linear. And if we set it to constant, you'll see that it just immediately changes. That's not what we want. We want linear. There's all these other stuff. You can see how it changes there, but just stick with linear. Great. Now I'm going to save. And now you can see our ocean is moving. So let's go to the first frame. I'm going to put the resolution back to 20. Then we'll set up the camera. So I'll just position it. I'll say view, align active camera to view. Or Control Alt Numpad 0. And yeah, I'm trying to tell you guys everything that I do. For some reason, screencast keys isn't working, so yeah. So then once I do that, I say Control B, and then I can put a border around it. And then clicking N to bring up the panel on the right, I can say lock camera to view. And what that'll do is allow me to move the camera. And so I'm going to set the camera focal length to be something smaller. 25. I don't know, I feel like making it smaller. Yeah. So now that we have that, we're going to set up the lighting. Now, if you don't have an HDRI texture, I recommend that you get one because it's really useful. But if you don't, then first of all, let's go into our material. Let's go to cube and rename it ocean. And we're going to say use nodes or new material or whatever. Now I'm going to delete this diffuse shader and search up principled shader. That's what we're going to be using today. Set the roughness to 0.1, and this way we could see it as we adjust the lighting. Now what you do is add a sky texture into the background. This gives you this nice sky texture. Oh yeah, and just really quickly, just turn down the base color. Right, it already looks like a cool ocean. And I'm trying to show you guys the sky, but I keep on wanting to change this. Really quickly, I'll change the specularity. I'll do this first. I'll change the specularity to 0.25. The reason why I do this is because the higher the index of refraction is on a material, on a refractive material, the more light it reflects. And you could see this on the Blender documentation. I know there's not much documentation, but there is on this. Water, which has an IOR of 1.333, has a specularity on the principled shader. And I found it right here. So I'm just going to open that. And you'll see the texture works fine. And if you want, you can scroll down and click transparent in this panel to make the background transparent. And this will also give you little reflections off the water, which could also be cool. And then, if you want, you could mix between these, I don't know, between the sky and the environment texture. If your HDR texture contains a sun, then you don't have to put a sun lamp, but if it doesn't, then you should probably put a sun lamp. Tweaking the size of the lamp will basically tweak the size of the lamp you're using. So big size will be very large, the tiny size will be really small. So I'm going to use 0.1 because that's the default value. Let's go back to this ocean. Okay, so we have roughness. I'm going to make the ocean a lot more rough, so 0.002, something like that. And what I want to do is, if you zoom in here, first of all, click T and then click smooth, because we want smooth shading. Then go to the modifier panel, go to add modifier, and then edge split. What this basically does is if the edges are really sharp, then it'll make it a sharp edge. Otherwise, it'll keep it smooth, like you enabled there. I'm also going to click generate normals and generate foam. Now I'm going to name this foam, and I'll show what this does in a second. If I go into the rendered rendered view, then, and I'm gonna use Control B again to select a small area to view. What I'm going to do is, what am I gonna do? Right, I'm gonna add search attribute. It's at the very top. An attribute node lets you get the information from it. So I'm going to type in foam. If I go to factor, also by the way, I'm using the Node Wrangler add-on. I believe it's a default add-on. Just go to File, User Preferences, and check the add-on and click Save User Settings. Basically, yeah. And I'm just going to add a principled shader. And I'll just make it just white for now. That looks pretty good. Because foam is white. And now, you'll see that we have a little bit of foam. Now if you want to tweak the values of the foam here, what you could do is add a color ramp. And by sliding these values, you can make it have more foam or less foam. But I'm just going to keep the default value for now. Great. Now we need to add normals. No, what are normals? Well, take a look at our mesh. I mean, it has a lot of polygons. Well, chances are if you're putting an ocean in your scene, you already have a ton of polygons and you don't want any more. But just look at, because there's not, I mean, it's all smooth and there's not very much detail. But we could add extra detail with normal maps. And you don't even need to download a normal map for this, because we could always do it procedurally with like a moose grave or a noise texture. I use the noise texture all the time. So I'm just going to get a texture coordinate node and plug in the object. And this just makes everything so nothing is stretched. I'm going to set the detail to 5 so it's nicely detailed. The reason why I don't set it all the way to 16 is because water isn't that detailed. Water, unlike other materials, water is smooth. And I do not want to get into depth on why. Yeah. But I could, but I won't. Because this tutorial I don't want to make too long. So I'm going to plug the factor of the noise texture into the height of a bump map. This bump map just takes values of height with a value of 1 or a value of 1, or displayed here in white, being higher, the value of 0 displayed here in black being lower. And this will create a normal map for us. You can look before. Look, there's not very much detail. And after, bam, look at all that detail. And you can change the strength too. So, we could change the strength until we have something we like. I like 0.7 around there. And I just plug this into the normal. And if you look at our final shader, and wait for it to load, to render out, then you could see that it has a lot of detail. I'll probably speed this part up, or I might not, I don't know. I'm a lazy person. Okay. And actually, I want to put 2 levels of detail. Because this looks kind of odd because it has little detail here and it has like huge detail, and then it has just tiny details. So I want to make like sort of a medium scale detail too to go with it. So I'll just get a noise texture again. And this time I want it to be a little bit warped, so I'll plug the generated in. And I'll set the scale, which is the size of it, to 2. Since it's a medium scale, I don't have to turn the details very high. You can see before, after. Not very much difference. Maybe I'll turn the scale up a little bit. There you go. Now we could plug this normal to the normal of the smaller scale, and then this will be taken into account. And now, in our final image, it'll look a lot better. And I'll zoom out so it takes less time. In fact, no, I'm not gonna. Or I could just let me set it to a very small tile size, and then I'll click render. Here, finished. So you can see we have small scale details, and you could just edit it. You can see the foam isn't very high detailed, so it gives us these weird chunks. So I guess you could. Well, one way I think you could do it, now that I'm thinking about it, at the geometry node, you could take the pointiness. Hey guys, so this is the end of the video. Unfortunately, the end of the video was cut off. I don't know, the recording software OBS is just, it's not working very well right now. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Here's the final result, and see you guys in the next tutorial.